And the Grammy goes to Die With a Smile, Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars.
Before the lights, before the fame, before the world knew her as Lady Gaga, there was Stefani Germanotta, a young woman with a dream so loud it refused to be silenced. But dreams rarely come easy. Behind the glitter, the outrageous fashion, and the electrifying performances lies a story marked by rejection, doubt, and countless closed doors. This isn't the Lady Gaga you see on magazine covers or award stages. This is the untold story of a relentless fighter who transformed her pain into power and her setbacks into the stepping stones of an extraordinary journey. From being told she didn't have the right look for the music industry, to nights spent playing in dimly lit New York clubs where no one was listening, Gaga's rise was anything but instant. Every no she heard carved out the resilience she would later need to conquer the global stage. And it is in those early struggles, the moments where most would give up, that her true legend began. Today, Lady Gaga stands as a global icon, not just for her music, but for her fearless authenticity, her advocacy, and her ability to turn vulnerability into strength. But to understand the star, we must first journey back to the girl who was underestimated, overlooked, and underestimated again, until the world had no choice but to listen. The untold story of Lady Gaga begins long before the world screamed her name. Born Stefani Joanne Angelina Germanotta, she grew up in New York City, where the hum of ambition clashed with the reality of being different. She wasn't the typical girl who blended in, and for that, she was often misunderstood. Music was her sanctuary, the piano her closest confidant, and songwriting her way of translating emotions that words alone couldn't carry. But even with raw talent, the industry wasn't kind. At 19, she was dropped by her first record label, dismissed as too eccentric, too risky, too strange. Those words, meant to break her spirit, became the fuel that forged her resilience. While others saw failure, Gaga saw an opportunity to redefine herself. She hustled in underground clubs, performing for tiny crowds, her outrageous costumes stitched together from thrift store finds and sheer imagination. Every night was a gamble. Some laughed, some walked out, but others saw a spark they couldn't ignore. Gaga wasn't just performing music. She was building a persona, an armor, a movement. Rejection no longer silenced her. It shaped her into someone unshakable. And it was in those small, forgotten venues where the foundations of a global icon were laid. Her message was clear. Being different wasn't a weakness, it was her greatest strength. That conviction, born out of rejection, became the heartbeat of her career. The story the world doesn't always see is not the glitz and glamour, but the grit and persistence of a woman who refused to let the world define her. Rejection is often the silent graveyard where dreams are buried, but for Lady Gaga, it became the crucible that forged her identity. Every time a door closed, she pushed harder. Every no from an industry executive, every snicker from those who thought her vision was too strange, was a reminder that she was playing a different game. Gaga wasn't just chasing fame. She was crafting a world where people who felt unseen could finally belong. At one point, she was signed and then abruptly dropped from Def Jam Records. To many, that would have been the end of the road, proof that she wasn't cut out for the spotlight. But instead of folding, she sharpened her art. She poured her frustrations into songwriting, even penning tracks for artists like Britney Spears and the Pussycat Dolls, quietly shaping pop culture from the shadows. Each rejection fueled a fire inside her, a fire that told her she wasn't meant to fit in, she was meant to stand out. The late nights performing in dive bars, the long subway rides home drenched in sweat and doubt, the sneers from people who didn't understand her vision, these became her training ground. Gaga learned that rejection was not the opposite of success, it was part of it. And by embracing rejection, she transformed it into resilience. It was this unshakable determination, born in the shadows of defeat, that prepared her for the moment when the world would finally turn its gaze toward her. The turning point came when all the rejection finally met preparation. Gaga's unique style, once mocked, caught the attention of producers willing to take a chance on her vision. With the release of her debut album The Fame in 2008, the world met not just a singer, but a phenomenon. Just Dance and Poker Face weren't just songs, they were declarations. Lady Gaga had arrived, unapologetic and undeniable. The same eccentricity that labels once rejected became her greatest weapon, setting her apart in a sea of sameness. Her rise wasn't simply about catchy hooks or chart-topping singles. Gaga built an entire universe, a movement that embraced the misfits, the dreamers, and the outsiders. Her bold fashion choices, theatrical performances, and fearless statements turned her into more than an entertainer. She became a symbol. Fans around the globe, who once felt invisible, now saw themselves reflected in her defiance and courage. From sold-out arenas to Grammy stages, Gaga's influence grew. She shattered expectations, proving that authenticity could thrive in an industry obsessed with formulas. And as her music evolved, so did her mission. Beyond pop stardom, she championed mental health, LGBTQ+ rights, and the power of individuality. The girl who was once told she wasn't good enough now stood as a voice for millions, redefining what it means to be a global icon.